Good evening, everyone. Being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone. So the first item on the agenda this evening is public comment. So first, I wanted to mention that Councilor Cribbins is virtual and Lisetta De Novo, the other counselor, is not attending at this time. She might try to get on. So anyway, public comments tonight. We have a few, it looks like. So I'm going to read our statement that public comments period is intended for the public to share ideas and concern. It is not intended for the interactive discussion with the council. There may be opportunities for the public comments during specific agenda items that require a public hearing. Members of the public are requested to confine their remarks to questions or issues under discussion during this time. During any designated comment period, individuals shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, and shall at all times while in session conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall be make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks, or become boisterous and while addressing the council. That being the case, Tim Coucher, we have you first. Okay. Welcome, and you might want to pull the mic down so we can hear you if you speak into it. There you go. Thank you.
Well, my name is Tim Coucher, and I live at 1067 Blanco Avenue here in Coos Bay. And my wife and I moved here in November 2020, and the first 3.5 years have been great. The last 8 months to a year has been difficult. And that's all because of a particular dog that lives on the next block over. It's a St. Bernard. It barks all day long. And my main concern is to try to see about getting something done. And the police chief has just told me that he's going to be able to work on it too. But I did work with Fred Jaco. He did send out a letter to the people that were involved. And I don't know what the outcome of that was. And also, he had me fill out a form from the Humane Society. I filled that out, got it back to him. Never heard anything on that either. But the main thing is just wanting to make sure if we can get some kind of an ordinance on, barking dogs, maybe with a fine or something like that. That's my main concern. It's been very noisy all day long. As a matter of fact, he starts about 6 o'clock in the morning. And last night he was starting to bark about 11:30. So, and this is all day long. They have 2 other dogs. They also do a lot of howling off and on all day long. So basically that's it. Just, I want to let you guys know he's going to tell me to get in touch with him and maybe we can get something done here on this matter. It's annoying. It really is, because our family room is right there in the back and it's just noisy. All righty. Thank you very much. Well, I might sit there for a few minutes. See what's going on. It's my first time.
All right.
Next one is Robert Crump.
Yes, that's me.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, Robert, you've been here before?
Yes. Yes, I'd like to address the council and the people of Coos Bay about my right to protect myself from self-incrimination by reading this, if it's all right with you. All right. Coos Bay City Council. Alana Ciandra has a lot in common with Jacqueline Onassis Trout. I will now demonstrate my right to avoid self-incrimination and grow to pay taxes, cash, itemized. It is my constitutional right. If the morbidity in Alana Ciandra's third right interior rib pedicle reaches her heart, she could leave me forever with a look in her eye that Diana Lee Farmer let her die of, scoliosis. With the help of the Coos Bay government, I hope to heal young Alana's body with advances in medicine at Coos Bay Area Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mike Powder. You've been through this before, Mike. How are you? I didn't mention to everyone, Mike knows this, it's 3 minutes. Everyone's been under the guideline. Otherwise Nate would have jumped up and,
Oh, yeah, don't tell us. It's been a while. Good to see everybody.
you got a haircut.
I did. In fact, there's a story behind that.
Oh.
Yeah. And part of that story is Dean and I went halves on this book, which is how we learn all about everything we need to.
Nice.
And it's a NATCO Urban Bikeway Design Guide.
Okay.
Shows you everything you need to know about how to do it properly. And it shows us how it should be done, and also helps us when we know it's not been done right. So hopefully the bike pedestrian committee have one, and so do the city councils. You can refer to it up to the latest methods and stuff.
Okay. I don't know if they do, but
Yeah, and in order to afford that, I cut my own hair, and I think some of it's grown out okay, but the head dropped off it, and I got a great big bald patch up there. But
well,
it's all
if you
looking
cut
good.
it too short, you'll be like me. I kept my own.
That's right. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm coming back to it though, and how needless to say, we're not getting very far on any bike infrastructure or stuff in Coos Bay. It's been 3 years, I think it has been now, since Eric Clough tried to get the protected bike lanes to Mengus Park, and since then I haven't seen anything that's been done. And I observe around town and stuff like that. And another thing that came up recently too was that, which I think is an opportunity, the railroad have got their broken bridge again. And that means they've cut it off. And we've basically got an abandoned railroad track here. It'd be nice if we could buy it for $1 and turn it into something the city could use for the people of the city. Otherwise, it takes up prime real estate. And the waterfront, even though we got a fantastic waterfront, we've only really got the one entrance in and out of it. And I'm not saying people shouldn't protest, but when you want to go down there and there's a big protest going on, you can't find parking and you can't use the place until the protesters are out of the way. It would be nice if they could say move them down the road to like where the Ford dealership is or somewhere, or up the road. And then we could stand there with our placards saying we need crosswalks and slow speeds and stuff like that too. So just a thought. But other than that, though, we're ready for another attempt at trying to get some bike lane stuff done. I think ODOT is still letting us down. They're supposed to have been taking care of this or doing a study on 101. And I don't think anything like that has happened. So we still keep the fight going, I guess. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Dean? How are you?
I'm all right.
You did say ditto to,
Yes, yes. In fact, well, Dean Lundy, 100 Newmark. I have a couple of statements and then I have a few questions. Mayor Benetti, Councilman, and concerning ODOT with, they promised to do a study of 101. That's one of my questions, to see if they've worked with the city studying this summer. They were supposed to study in July. This is one of my visual aids. This is a picture of a gas pump. It shows that the federal government gets 18.4 cents a gallon federal tax on every gallon we buy, and I buy a lot of fuel. And Oregon State gets 40 cents a gallon for, now you guys know money, that you add that up, 40 cents every gallon we buy. So, when they cry poorhouse. And I wish, well, this is not our jurisdiction in Coos Bay, but evidently there used to be a walking bridge when Weyerhaeuser had the property that now belongs to the Indian Casino land, and people could walk across this beautiful wood bridge. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. And when you go to the Indian Casino, this is what you see. No bicycle parking. Bicycles will be removed if left unattended. So you can have your Hell's Angel motorcycle parked there and get free coffee, but you can't park your bicycle. But that's in North Bend. That's a whole different thing. We're working on North Bend. back to the Sharrow Road up to Mingus Park. Commissioner Kilmer asked, we were supposed to vote on it at one point, that thing we've been working on and paid for, that plan to go up the street here. We voted on 4 out of the 5 improvement projects. We didn't vote on that because there wasn't a study on how many people made a left turn. I don't know if you remember it, but I do, coming down Commercial. So one of my questions is, have we done that study? And has the city worked with ODOT this summer on the study on 101? And back to the waterfront. You know, my heart is on the water. And back to ripping up the rails. I've been in cities where abandoned railroad right-of-ways have been used for public access. Minneapolis, Minnesota was one of them. And there were families with strollers, and I was on a bicycle with another family. We went all the way from one area all the way down to Lock and Dam 1 on this railroad right-of-way. We don't have to rip up the rails, but we could actually, and I would help find the money. We could actually, to solve the whole connect the boardwalk problem, the 101 problem, the railroad problem, and the to give me the hook?
Yeah.
Said 3 minutes? Okay. Anyway, those are my questions about the
Okay,
studies.
We'll address some of them after all public comments. So is there anyone else in the audience like to do public comments? Anyone online? Nicole, you have something to read, and is there anyone that? No one online.
Sorry,
Okay.
I thought I heard. Yeah. So we received a public comment that was asked to be read into the record, and it's a little bit challenging to read. So just the gist of it, this individual had a home in one of our mobile home parks and had some struggles there and some frustrations with how that worked out, and they're reporting that. This is shared, also asked to be shared with all of you, and we can get you that as well.
Okay.
My understanding, it isn't necessarily our issue. From reading this, it's more of a landlord kind of tenant issue, but so there's language and
Okay,
misspelling and yeah, so we'll share it and it will become part
for the
of
record. Okay.
in the packet, so.
All right, so any other public comments? All right, so a couple closed public comments. And so just to address a few. So Tim, as you know, the chief of police will follow up. I think that we do have an ordinance, a nuisance ordinance for, I think Nate, maybe you can chime in here about animals. Is that correct or not? Barking dogs or too loud or, okay, so there's things in place. So,
It's just been hard with Fred,
Sure,
you know.
I got
one
you.
Person, and,
yeah,
you know, tried to live with it.
I get it.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, and then Mike and Dean, I can tell you that I understand ODOT. I don't know if they've done a study or not, but I know that their budget's been cut considerably. The governor's talking about bringing the session back in and asking for a 6% more per gallon tax on what is already there. So I think it might be challenging to get something out of ODOT at this time. I don't know. I hope that maybe that can be done. You know, and then we talked about it's been 3 years since the bike path has been talked about. Part of that problem also was that it was mandated by ODOT that we need a crossing to make that happen. And that was going to be $200,000 for that. And we don't have that kind of money. So we were trying to find alternatives. Carmen's got a super plan and idea that I think I would love to do, but his is worth about $10 million.
Yeah, a lot more money. Yeah.
Anyway, it's not something that falls in deaf ears. And, you know, I keep saying that I believe Ocean Boulevard, we could finish that bike path. I might be in the minority on this, I don't know. And I would like to have access downtown. As far as the road goes, as long as the port believes there's vitality or life left in the bridge until they say it's totally abandoned, which I haven't heard at this point. In fact, I was in a meeting the other day, they talked about trying to get some funding for it. So you know, as much as I would love, I think with other counselors on here to take over that rail, we would love it. I think you could have a commuter train to North Bend and back. We could do different development down on the waterfront. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are available, but this is the port property, port operation, the rail. And so there's not much we can do except wait. And if they decide not to continue with the rail across the bridge, then I think there's an opportunity. But until then, I don't think there's anything available to us. No. And
Could
let's-
go to a port meeting.
yeah.
and
And
share your concerns.
what's this? And the Cokewell Casino and Resort. I know Lucinda was here when you brought up the no parking with the bikes there or left unattended. She said that bikes can be there. So I'm not sure if that, maybe that signage isn't actually correct. She said they can park them there. Maybe they just don't want to be there overnight. And so I will follow up with her because she said that is available to do. People ride their bikes and they can park.
For the bike rack, there's nothing.
Okay, well,
But that's out of our hands.
Right,
First,
so
we
anyway.
didn't do anything about that.
correct. Now,
That's-
something about commercial
That's
left.
actually tribal property, which is separate.
Up to them.
Goose Bay
Sure.
Bend.
But- Okay, so commercial left turn. You're familiar with this?
That was the one coming down the hill.
Yeah.
And that project is done, I believe.
But weren't there just bike lanes put on Ocean in commercial?
There was. Greg can speak to that. He,
In Central, we have.
Central, sorry, Central.
Central Avenue was done this last year.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
You just happened to be here. That's perfect.
Yeah, so we did, we installed bike lanes both east and westbound from 11th Street to Ocean Boulevard.
Okay.
It's been in use.
Yeah, and it's been in use.
Small, but it's something. Yeah.
Well, it's-
I understand, but it was said that there's been nothing done. I'm not saying that this is a huge monumentous change, but there was something done. And believe me, there's plenty of people working on it. We all want to make things happen, but there is a need to have a cohesive plan and to spend money in a financially and fiscally responsible way so that we have everything working together. I share your sentiment. I share your frustration, and timeline is slow. I want to ride my bike with my family in a safe way, and we're all trying. So I appreciate your continued effort. I understand, Dean. I understand. Yeah.
Dean, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
No problem.
All right. Okay, that's it for public comments. So we're gonna move on to the rest of the agenda. First item on the agenda is consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. See you next time, guys.
Oh, we'll be back. We'll be back
All right.
Sounds good.
Next item or action item, public hearing to enact an ordinance establishing a moderate income revolving loan program and approve program policies. Before I open up the public comment period, Nicole, can you do an explanation and give some information on this, a summary?
Yes, thank you. So this council has made it a priority to do what we can in the city to support housing. You've shown that with several of the other programs that you've put in place, one of those being the multi-unit property tax exemption program, which we put in place at the beginning of 2024. This is another opportunity, which is a program that was proposed by actually Senator Anderson in the 2024 session under Senate Bill 1537. And then it saw some amendments in this last 2025 session with Senate Bill 48. Essentially, there are dollars sitting at the state that local municipalities can access through either a loan or a grant program, and as a pass-through, pass that on to a developer, which could help support development for housing. And it fits in a niche of the moderate income group. So when we look at the housing spectrum, there's need for all. This is very specific to that. There's guidelines that help establish what that price range is. Oregon Housing Community Service has been waiting for some folks to step forward and say, we want to give that a go. And like often happens, Coos Bay's going to start that trend out, hopefully. With our first project, I think Greg is here. Drobot for Timber Cove. He can give you some feedback on what he's learned and how he sees this might fit in his. What it requires is we put code in our municipal code that allows for this program, much like we did for MUPTI. We're gonna have to have some established parameters. We'll have to also create an application process and a review and approval and all that kind of. So that's still going. We are working with OHCS, who is still pushing this program out. They're developing it as we are here talking about it tonight. It's gonna be live and a little clunky, but we have someone who's interested in helping us make sense of it and kind of refine the program as we go. So there are many things still waiting for this to kind of be worked out, but this is our first step, is getting this in our code. We will continue to work with OHCS and we'll make some contact with the counties. They'll have a piece of this. And then obviously our developer who's interested in accessing these dollars and helping us kind of modify the program so it's accessible for the future too. So happy to answer any questions. There's a lot of moving pieces still, so
So this is the first step.
this is the first
And
step.
then there's other steps. And so is the city going to handle this, or does Greg handle this, or the developer handle this, or how's that happen?
So this is our program. So much like MUPTI, we're going to put together parameters in which you can apply. Both a grant and a loan option would be available. Developers would apply to the city. We go through a process of reviewing and approving of that application to make sure that it fits both our parameters that we've established in the state code. And then it would get sent to Oregon Housing Community Service and they will vet that same application. And if approved, the money would flow to us and then we pass it through to the city. It's essentially going to be, for example, if it's a loan, it would get repaid through property taxes. So a portion of property taxes would be earmarked towards repayment. The city would then use those dollars to repay Oregon Housing Community Services. That keeps that bucket live for future projects across the state. So other communities can still be applying as well. So
Is there a portion of the property taxes we're talking about, or all the property tax, or how's?
it is all of the property taxes except for there's a carve out for fire districts. They were specifically called out that they would continue to receive their funding.
Okay.
So they have some great lobbyists, obviously. But essentially all, it's like a payment in lieu of taxes, essentially.
Sure.
It's going to repay the loan if you walk that path. So
It says the taxable improvements are exempt from property taxes, so that would so some would still come to the city then?
yeah, so land. So for example, right now, if we were just very specifically to look at the Timber Cove project, that land was already assessed and property taxes are being paid on that. That would not be a part of that program. There is a possibility for redevelopment, and if it meets moderate income, same thing. The original assessed value of that property would stay as is, but the increased value because of that would be a part of the program. So
Do we have any idea what the loan terms are if it is a loan for payback?
10
Does it
years is how
go
it's
on in
established.
perpetuity
No.
forever?
10 years is, your kind of max. You can ask for an extension of up to 5 years, but that's even still, they're working on what that looks like, but it's intended to fit in a 10-year kind of repayment. So that takes the developer understanding, how does that pencil out for them to make sure that their prices are fitting in a place where that 10-year repayment is reasonable, if they go the loan route. So.
And then the second question I had, you said that the only thing carved out was for fire protection, Fire
For
district.
districts. Mhm.
but nothing comes to the city for other public safety services.
That's true. I mean, we're making a decision whether we want to support, some additional housing and for that 10-year period, that's, yeah.
It says instead of regular property tax payments on the improvements, the developer fee payer will pay a predetermined annual program fee for the duration of the property tax exemption period. And that the sponsoring jurisdiction, in this instance us, would use this fee to repay the no interest loan program. So what happens if the developer does not pay?
So each of the properties have a lien placed on them. for the value of that loan, their portion. In this instance, there could be multiple parcels because it will be by lot. So there would be a lien. There is a action that can be taken by the state of Oregon has the ability to step in that position. So it's clearly something we want to be well versed in vetting applications because we want to make sure we're getting folks who have that capacity. And then understanding like as those properties potentially sell and in, for example, Timber Cove's development, that lien stays with that property. So those property owners need to know that that's, you know, a piece of the puzzle. And when they're paying in on that annual payment, it's going towards, you know, repayment of that loan. So
But it sounds like it's with the state, not with the city.
it's an interesting third party kind of arrangement there, and we're working on whether or not because there is an issue with which order, you know, so for example, I go and get a home loan, the bank has a lien. Now this is potentially a lien, which order that is. Those are the details that we're kind of still working through.
It sounds like you use the words vetting and application and review and approval. So it's a lot of administration. Is there any money within OHCS that comes to cities to support the admin?
So that's another piece we're kind of working through. There is in the legislation was a 6% admin fee that's in there. And we're actually using some consultants to kind of help us get this off the ground, who have been trying to get this working in like Lincoln City and Sherwood. And so they're working on, at the same time, OHCS is that toolkit that we would use that would give us kind of the background we might need to review applications.
So we get it at a discount because they're working with other cities, sharing the costs.
Well, we've actually, this is another piece of this coordination of housing here. We have a nonprofit here, Southern Coast Regional Housing, who is partnering with this consultant. They went out and got dollars to support helping this consultant work with the city of Coos Bay. So in this area, that would be available for any other, you know, community members could maybe, you know, take advantage of that in other cities.
Do we
but-
know how many other cities yet?
No one yet seriously, but there are, what I've heard is Lincoln City and Sherwood, for sure on recent calls. No one's implemented it yet though.
Yeah, I think the term you used was clunky. I think that's appropriate here. I know sometimes we have to make hard decisions about whether we want to be the first in to help pilot something, or if we want the state to have some time to figure things out and then come in later. So I think that's something we should consider.
I can say on their behalf, we've had a number of phone calls with them and they are listening to what we're saying and implementing some of those changes in what they're writing up as far as policy goes.
State.
So yes, so while we're maybe the first, we're also guiding what works, and they've had Greg has attended some of those. I mean, they're taking feedback from a lot of angles in order to make this at least workable at the local level, which honestly have not seen that happen with them in the past. So.
All right, any other questions from the council before I open up public hearing? Okay, hearing none, we'll come back and deliberate. So I'll open the public hearing to enact the ordinance establishing a moderate income revolving loan program and approve the program policies. And Greg, looks like I'll call on you first. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Nicole, you did a great job. First of all, can everybody hear me? All right. You did a great job summarizing as best as I understand it as well. And I just wanted to say kind of how important this program could be to Timber Cove and other developers. It has always been my goal and our goal to develop this to be as affordable as possible. And we are still targeting, around $400,000 to begin for our sale price of these homes. We are making tremendous progress on the development. We are putting in all of the streets for phase 1 are cut in. We're putting in utilities. We have stormwater, sewer, power, gas, electric. It is all going in right now. But over the last about 8 months, the cost of all of that has, in many cases, doubled. It's a combination of tariffs, inflation, labor shortages, basically everything. And, we're all fighting for the same equipment. We're on the coast and prices go up. So it is a very timely program that it is there and could fill a need to help us close a gap in financing to make sure that we can keep the affordability of these homes where they should be and where I'm trying to keep them. So it's not without its challenges. It does put some restrictions on properties, as Nicole said. But I do believe that, it used kind of in a surgical approach, that it could be a very effective program to help on the large costs of development, especially on the site work. As anyone knows, once you get in the ground, you don't really know where you're going to find or what costs are going to be. So hopefully it comes together like we all think. So I'm fully behind this and want to be, part of this application as much as I can.
Questions for Greg, anyone? Questions for Greg, anyone? No? Okay, Greg, maybe we'll come back to you, but at that moment, well, thank you for that input. Is there any other public comments on this item? All right, so I'll go ahead and close the public comments or public hearing as we get to discuss this. I don't know. I mean, I understand that we're first, and I think Sarah has some valid points that it might be, being first might be a little bit of a problem, but I think Nicole said that the state's been very interested in working with us. And in the past, we haven't been very successful, I should say, always working with the state. And so I think that I think we should take this step. And again, we've also gone up and asked for help with infrastructure from the state for not just this developer, but for other developments. I think that we need to keep plugging along with that. I know that other communities are getting infrastructure help. I don't know why we haven't been blessed with that yet, but I think it's something that we need to keep plugging with the legislation and legislators, like Senator Anderson has been good to work with and understands it. And if I understand correctly, these loans are for the home, right? This isn't specifically for the developer. I mean, if they sell the home, this is for the home purchase per whoever the buyer may be for a low income home, lower income or lower cost on that loan, no interest, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
It's
it
with
said
the
that program funds can be used for the costs related to infrastructure. And so would be helping the developer.
I mean, ultimately, when you look at a project, and if I'm not catching this right, hopefully Greg can help. But when you look at a project, you're going to look at the total cost of that project. And yes, there are components, infrastructure and housing and all of those pieces. So any inputs are a help, whether they're touching the infrastructure or they're actually touching a home. The goal of this program is to bring housing into this middle space, which is really tough to hit when you're trying to fit moderate income, because there are pathways for affordable, and that's big A affordable. I'm learning so many things now. Housing, there's low income, there's nothing once you get up high. This is the first time we've seen something that helps for those middle spaces. When you talk about affordable, and it is, in the 400 price range, but the homes are, in speaking to some of the local real estate folks here, these are coming in under what they are seeing these types of homes sell for in our community. So it is affordable to the workforce that it would appeal to. I don't know that was answering your question now that I just rambled for a bit, but it's a program that is touching a part of the housing spectrum we haven't seen help for to date. And it is a piece of helping the development move forward for sure. It would be a component of, and we talked a little bit about this when we were talking about the pro formas, that the infrastructure has a tie to each house. So this road is this amount of money. it is going to service all of these homes, there is a piece of that that's allocable to each of the homes. So it's a big bucket of costs and, infrastructure is a piece of that for sure.
So maybe I have a question for Greg then, if I'm understanding what you're saying. So originally, Greg, you were talking about homes around $400,000. This, in essence, would help you to lower that cost for homeowners?
It would allow us to keep that price point.
Because I'm seeing here that to qualify for Merle, you have to be 120% of AMI. So if you're a 4-person household making $99,700, would you be able to afford a $400,000 home?
So
Based-
we've ran a couple of, there's a couple of platforms online that OHCS references to looking at that. And the one that we've looked at recently, it hits between the 400 and 416,000. It obviously depends on inputs, what's your loan period, what's your interest rate you're going to get. Those are things that we're using an average for. So these houses at that 400 range fit in with what is considered moderate or 120% AMI. I don't know if I caught that well enough.
No, you explained it correctly. Yeah, and it's yeah, it allows us to keep the price points where we really hoped they always would be. Obviously, a lot has happened in the last 8 months, 12 months, to affect things. And another thing to keep in mind too about infrastructure, it's really hard to get financing for infrastructure, unlike a house where you could use the house as collateral. You can't use a road as collateral. You can't use a sewer as collateral. So it's really difficult, and it really, the government is the perfect entity to help fill that financing gap. Because otherwise, who's going to pay for it? I mean, that's why you get the same house that we're building anywhere else in town is probably 500,000 to 550,000 for exactly the same new construction. So I think it was Unicole saying like we are under market in what we're selling, but we're doing that because we have 400 homes to sell and we want to service a market and be affordable to incomes that are appropriate in the area. It's not free money. It limits us as a developer of what we can sell the homes for. So, I mean, we are kind of taking our medicine with this program. So I feel like it's a good kind of meet in the middle and make this work. And if it allows the development to move forward and keep our prices where we need them to, I think it's a great fit.
And I would just maybe to add, you have come to the table with some help with infrastructure, and that happened before some pretty significant things happened in our nation. I mean, we've had a lot of wildfires. So when we talk about supply, getting things, we're all fighting for the same materials. We have tariffs that have been put in place. There are some things that have happened since these initial conversations started, and it's trying to keep in that 400 range, which was been talked about from day one. So it's a piece of the puzzle.
So none of this goes into effect unless the home is sold. Right? I mean, to get this loan, a home has to be sold.
So
right?
property taxes are paid.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be assessed when it's, when the county does those assessments. So at that point, whether it's sold and Greg's, still the owner of that property or someone else
Sure.
is, yeah.
But there has to be a home, there has to be a loan attached to the loan before this comes in, because otherwise it doesn't go into effect, right? There has to be something. You're just not gonna get a loan for infrastructure without a home being there, right?
So this is tied to the actual house, the home
Right.
that's built,
Right.
which is going to be driven by the county assessor assessing that. That is the point at which property taxes. will
Right.
be.
But without the home and without being sold, this doesn't come into effect.
I understand where you're going then.
Okay.
Yes, without the building, we wouldn't even be doing this.
Right.
So, and also I'd say moving past that, there would be no property taxes assessed period without the development.
But the intent is to entice homeowners to purchase these homes at a rate, hopefully, that will be accommodating to them and help them facilitate that.
Correct. Trying to
Okay.
keep it in a price range.
But I see rental housing mentioned here also. So isn't necessarily tied to the
It doesn't
sale.
have to be a sale. That's why I was trying to say it's based on assessing taxes, not on,
Sure.
yeah,
But without a home, okay, this won't happen if there's blank property.
correct.
If whoever builds a home, the home's there, that's when it comes to affect whoever may own the home.
Correct.
The developer, buyer, whoever, right? Okay.
Is it common practice, though, to implement an ordinance without parameters? I mean, you said you're working on developing those.
So what we're doing rather than putting program elements in an ordinance, which we don't traditionally do those things, those will be a piece of policy that we handle at, the operational side. We're identifying those needs in the ordinance, and those will be kind of standalones so that we can modify them a little bit easier than having them sitting in code where we have to wait for it to get codified and all of those kinds of things. So we're giving you a skeleton as it stands right now. I expect there will be some changes, and we will need to come back to you to make some modifications to.
And OHCS requires you to have an ordinance in place to apply.
Yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah,
Along those lines, do we know how our ordinance compares to whatever Sherwood or Lincoln City are developing?
So this is pretty much the same one we've all been batting around. This one actually has come through OHCS, so we know that they're finding this version acceptable. We will have some modifications though.
So if this ordinance is adopted, like all ordinances, it's not forever. It can be changed. It can be withdrawn. So it's something that we can just see how it works. And if it's successful, we can continue. If it becomes so successful, we don't have to continue. I mean, but there's parameters around us. I mean, we're not locked into this for everything, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, we're gonna have to have a program by which we take in applications, review applications. I mean,
Sure.
it isn't just that we have this and any and all projects could qualify.
Right.
There will be parameters that need to be met, not just for what we understand, but it will get vetted through OHCS.
Good. So they'd have to qualify other projects or whatever. So it's gonna be overseen by us. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for me to feel comfortable moving forward, just like an agreement with the city that we're hearing from you, how it's going with OHCS and your word clunkiness
Yeah.
of it. And that it feels like a big lift. And so if we're doing this, you're probably having to stop doing something else, right? Because you guys are already at capacity. Housing development is important, but I have some trepidation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. This is definitely opening up a piece of something we haven't really touched before. I'm a little less anxious about like the financial side of it because I think we have some capacity to kind of understand and review applications from that perspective. But I fall back on, there are so many people working in the state and we've attached to some really great consultants. So they're giving us some good guidance, but we're working with OHCS who ultimately are going to say whether things are approved or not. They're going to push back applications that don't meet the parameters. So there's kind of that fail safe a little bit. It doesn't relieve all responsibilities from the city by any means.
Because we've had experiences with the state in the past where things aren't 100% perfect all the time.
Yes, and that's why I say in this instance, those experiences have shown that they're coming to the table a little bit differently this go around. And I think it's because this is a program that is standalone for a housing model that has not seen any kind of funding, and they're getting pushed to get more houses built. So they're showing up with, how do we make this work in your community? That hasn't been the case in my past experience and the limited other times I've touched, done work with them. So.
All right, Troy, you got any questions, or Carmen?
At this point, I think having tools that help developers or renters in various ways is something that I'd like to support. I don't necessarily understand all the intricacies of this. It sounds like it's clear as mud for most of us, but I'm interested into, moving forward and participating and seeing how this goes. I trust that you will guard our interests as well, Nicole.
Yeah, I mean, we ultimately know we can't be on the hook for, anything for repayment, because where would we pull those dollars from? So yeah, that was my biggest day one kind of concern.
Okay.
So-
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it just seems to me, as much as everyone else has indicated, there's a lot more to learn, and we need to keep a close eye on it and see where it goes.
Thanks, Fred. All right, if there's no other comments, I would like to proceed, Councilman.
Carmen, were you making a motion?
I will move that we enact an ordinance establishing the city of Coos Bay's participation in Oregon's Moderate Income Revolving Loan, or the MIRL program, and establish program policies.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to enact an ordinance establishing moderate income revolving loan program and approve program policies. Christine, please.
An ordinance implementing the moderate income revolving loan program enacted through Oregon Senate Bill 1537, 2024, as amended by SB 48, 2025, and authorizing the city to enter into agreements with Oregon Housing and Community Services, OHCS. Councilor Cribbins?
Aye.
Councilor Niebergall?
Aye.
Councilor Matthews?
Aye.
Mayor Benetti? Councilor Kilmer?
Aye.
Councilor Stevens?
Aye.
Ordinance number 587 has been duly enacted.
Thank you, Christine and Nicole, and all that participated in the discussion. Thank you, Greg. Good seeing you. Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration to adopt resolution 25-27, Berea Hospital Opportunity Site Feasibility Study, including the preferred site plan. Chelsea, it's a mouthful.
Yeah, always with planning land use, it's a mouthful. So as council's aware, the city has been working together with Bay Area Hospital and the state on a project to look at the feasibility of developing one of the hospital's large pieces of surplus vacant land, developing it with housing. And so we've spent the last 6-7 months doing that work. And what the result is a feasibility study with a preferred site plan. It shows that you could put approximately 146 plus dwelling units on the site with some commercial space, trails. It would require a bridge connection. But this is a path that the hospital could take to put housing on the site that would financially pencil out. Now, I mean, the report identifies constraints, it identifies, what's needed to make this happen. It's certainly not a next step easy button where it's going to happen tomorrow. It also doesn't commit the hospital to building this out. It's a plan. It's a feasibility study. It just kind of outlines those constraints and talks about what's needed to make it happen in the future. And so as part of this work, the city is asked to acknowledge that report, and we would do that by adoption of a resolution. The hospital board of directors will also be considering this at their board meeting on August 12th. And so I know we had a pretty extensive work session recently with a consultant. They went into a lot of the details. I didn't want to do that again tonight. If you have questions, please ask, but we're just kind of wrapping this up, finalizing it, and then it'll be something that the hospital can use in the future if and when they want to move forward on some form of development.
Excuse me. So Chelsea, we basically need to finalize this because we've got some grant funds from DLCD on this, right?
Yes, that is correct. The Transportation Growth Management Quick Response Program.
Which is ODOT also.
Which is ODOT, yep.
Right, okay. And so I think Chelsea said this isn't obligating us to anything, but it was a grant that we were able to achieve and got us this design And hopefully somebody can come along and make this development, and the hospital board will also approve it. I mean, this is where one of those ones I'm talking about, if we got some infrastructure to help facilitate this, if during the presentation, they needed a pump station or they needed a bridge, one of the two, but they were looking around $3 million, I think, for the bridge, if I remember correctly, and I don't know how much for the pump station was more than that. But the point being is, if we can get infrastructure, I mean, this is something on our radar that we can go to the legislature saying, hey, this is a possibility. If you want this to be developed, like, you know, OHCS and the governor keep pushing for it. Anyway, that's my little speech. Anyone else? Comments?
Has there been any conversation from the Bay Area Hospital Board regarding this, this feasibility?
Well, they had representatives here with us when we hosted that work session, so they're aware of it. And my understanding is there hasn't been any kind of point of contention to date. And so I think that they kind of acknowledge the same thing. This is a tool, something that gives you kind of, this is what's needed to make it happen. And now, you know, if and when it's something that they could use. It's not something that commits anybody to doing anything, so.
The only reason I asked is because they've had a change in leadership, both at the board level and administratively.
Yes.
Since that meeting.
That's correct. And we've talked with hospital representatives about that, and they feel comfortable still they've shared the report out with the board and, you know, got kind of feedback in advance. And so I think they're still on the path to move forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none?
I move to adopt resolution 2527, adopting the Bay Area Hospital Housing Opportunity Site Feasibility Study.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 25-27, Bay Area Hospital Opportunity Site Feasibility Study, including the preferred site plan. Are there any comments or questions? Others, I should say. Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, C, consideration to award construction grant for 2025 fall potholes repair project. Who's handling this? Greg? How are you?
I'm doing well, Mr. Mayor. How about yourself?
How many potholes are we doing here? I know I should.
This is, we're doing 39 with this project.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. So the 2025 pothole project proposes to repair a total of 39 large potholes, approximately 18,040 square feet, with 5 potholes in East Side, 15 potholes in Empire, and the remaining 19 potholes in the central area of Coos Bay. Potholes of these sizes are beyond the capacity of the city staff to repair, to competitively repair in-house. So we advertise these out for contractors to repair. We opened bids on July 15th, and the Knife River was the apparent low bidder. We received 2 bids that day. The responsive bid came in at $261,330. Staff is recommending awarding the 2025 fall pothole project to Knife River Materials for $300,600, which does include a 15% contingency. Attached to the staff report is a bid tabulation form, an overall site map reflecting the locations of the potholes associated with this project. So when I presented this project to the council on June 3rd, I gave an estimate of $235,000, which did include a 15% contingency. Knife River's bid with contingency exceeded staff's estimate by about 28%. I reached out to Knife River Materials to find out what was going on, why there was such a discrepancy in my estimate versus theirs. The contractor stated that this project included numerous different locations. So the last project that we bid was 29 potholes or 27 potholes, but the square footage was 17,000 square feet. This project is 18,000 square feet, 39 potholes. So more locations, smaller potholes, just 12 or 13 different locations. So they have to mobilize more, pick up their grinder and move more. So they have to add a shift. So their production is going to go down. They have to add that extra shift for grinding. So these are things that I did not account for in my estimate in June 3rd. So for those reasons, they're going to be a little bit less efficient with their production. And so that's why the price was higher than my estimate. And so with that, if it pleases council, award the 2025 fall pothole repair project to Knife River Materials for the amount not to exceed $300,600, which does include a 15% contingency.
So both bids were really close.
They were both really close.
So you mentioned they have to grind them out. Aren't we still grinding the potholes and then they're filling them, or we're not grinding anymore?
Grinding out for the contractor anymore. We did not find that very efficient. One of the things that we did notice when we were grinding out, we were still having to pay for traffic control, and staff was still having to go out and do that work. So we were estimating $30,000 to $40,000 in traffic control for each project. And then on top of that, the contractor would come in, end up having to grind. They would pay for their own traffic control and just do a little bit extra. And so we stopped doing that. We do use the grinder to do the remaining potholes. I think this year we're up to 200 and something potholes that we repaired this year.
Okay, so we use it for our own potholes.
Oh, we sure do.
Okay, and this is up to the contractors.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions for Greg on this?
How often is the contingency accessed? Do you have, like, is it always or?
No,
Okay.
not we try to stay under the contingency typically. I would say maybe 20% of the time.
We could certainly look at that. I mean, we have to keep in mind contingencies are for unknowns that are clearly unknowns, not just poor review and preparing of our, the bid process or responsiveness from bidders. If those don't count as, dipping into the contingency, they are truly unknowns.
So if someone underbid or didn't put in their bid for some whatever, we're not going to allow them to do that with under the 15%.
Correct.
Okay, this would be something that's not within the bid structure or totally outside of it.
Correct.
No, okay.
Can I get an example of what a contingency might be for a job like this?
Sure. For like a project like this, let's just say that they had to excavate down or grind down an extra 2 inches on a particular pothole that they didn't account for. So that would be where that contingency would come into play. Or that they had to expand out a little bit farther than what we anticipated to make a cohesive pothole repair in that particular area. That might be where that contingency might come into play.
But you have to approve it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've had roadways where, we're replacing large sections and we've opened those up only to find out that what we believed was there for, I may use the wrong language, the sub roads, there was actually cavities where, like, for example, the tree stumps were used for fill, or there was not something removed. And so there's something under the ground we didn't have awareness of, nor did the contractor. That potentially could be contingency use.
Thank you.
Right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, how would you like to proceed, council?
I move to award the 2025 fall pothole repair project to Knife River Materials for an amount to not exceed $300,600, which includes a 15% contingency.
Second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the construction contract for 2025 fall pothole repair project. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Next item on the agenda is consideration to approve an emergency repair contract for a failed storm main at 575 South Watson Street. Jennifer.
Thank you. In March of this year, a major rain event and a failing 36-inch storm line caused a large sinkhole to develop in the front yard of the house at 575 South Watson Street. The sinkhole opened up quickly, and within a half hour, it was the size of a 2-car garage. The edge of the sinkhole was close to the home, and the supporting sandy loam was continuing to slough into the void. Staff was concerned that the home was in danger of falling into the sinkhole if measures weren't taken immediately to stabilize the soil. Knife River was able to be on site within an hour with equipment and large rock that was used to stabilize the soil. The storm line that failed was corrugated metal pipe and approximately 80 feet in length. All of the CMP was removed and replaced with PVC pipe. Due to the imminent nature to the home and Knife River being able to mobilize quickly, staff is recommending after-the-fact approval to Knife River for the emergency repair of this storm drain failure for $140,000. If council approves, it is in accordance with the city's public contracting rules for emergency contracts. Also, if approved, funds for this project will come from the Water Quality Fund, Water Quality Improvement Fund 29, Emergency Unplanned Projects account.
Any questions for Jennifer on this?
No pictures?
I thought we approved something on this already. I remember having a discussion. Cause it was on my street.
Yeah, I think there may have been some information about the incident happening because of the severity of the sinkhole, and so just sharing because it could be a concern in the community. So I think there was some feedback there.
Okay.
So Jennifer, can you explain to us how these were awarded? Because since they're an emergency repair and they're not going out for bid, how does that process work? And did we just pick any contractor? Is there a list or?
Well, there's only a few contractors in town local that have the staff, the equipment, and the ability to mobilize quickly. We call those contractors. Sometimes they can mobilize quickly and sometimes they can't. So we tried it because of the threat here. We had to go with the one that could mobilize the quickest.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other comments or questions on this? Hearing none, how would you like to proceed?
I move that we approve the after-the-fact emergency repair of 36-inch storm main at 575 South Wasson for an amount not to exceed $140,000.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve an emergency repair contract for failed storm main at 575 South Watson Street. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item, discussion of a fee schedule adjustment and annual indexing method. Nicole.
Yes, thank you. So this is kind of going to be maybe a little bit of a tag team effort because we've got several folks in their divisions or departments use the city's fee schedule for their programs. So I'm going to start us out, and definitely, folks, if I leave a gap, you're welcome to step in. So the fee schedule contains elements that support programs across to the many divisions and departments. So that can be police and fire have fees in there, public works, community development, library, finance. Some of them have a mechanism by which they have an annual increase. So for example, we've used the municipal cost index for changes to the mortgage fee. Most of them do not have a mechanism by which they are adjusted annually or in any period of time without us, coming to you to identify some need to make those changes. So what we're bringing to you tonight is maybe just a start of that conversation. And then, you certainly could give us directions on how you might want to see us move forward if there is some sort of mechanism and indexing that we could apply across all fees. And I would also note that we're going to exclude any fees related to building and permitting. There's a prescribed process for that has to actually work with state building codes. And so we're going to set aside that. They are part of the fee schedule, but we won't be discussing those because of that prescribed process. What we've identified tonight are some library fees that we know we'd like to make amendment to. We've also brought forth a proposal for mortgage fees, and we're happy to talk a little bit more about our background on how we're arriving with that. And then bringing you some ideas on maybe an indexing that we might be able to use, along with potentially looking at, maybe our actual cost changes throughout the year when we look at what overhead might be to support a program, which is going to include staff wages and benefits. Should we be including that in our operational review when we look at costing for fees? So all of that said, you have some options. We'd be happy to kind of go through the fee changes themselves. I think there is some important information we want to share about the Coos Bay's dock system, the marina that we have. The challenges that we've experienced very specifically in the last year for the usage down there. Even so early as just this weekend, having a challenge with a boat down there. So the recommendation we're asking with mortgage fees has very much to do with the cost of operating that facility. and not having any mechanism for significant improvements to that. It does not support itself, essentially, is where we kind of are at. We've had some challenges with the liveaboards, for example, being one of our issues. While we recognize that that's a place that we are housing individuals, people are choosing to live on their boats there, and we want to support that. We've had some difficulties in this last year with an individual who caused significant damage down at the docks because of mental state. So not only safe to the other folks that are there, but also, damaging property, both public and private. And then the boat we had there, problems with this weekend is sinking and without a clear owner, because the owner who registered with us passed away, gave it to his son did not want it, gave it to our marina host who we previously had, who passed away, and now it's sitting with heirs. We have such a trail to go through. Like, we just really want to have an opportunity to rethink how that facility is being used in the best interest of the whole community. Are there some alternatives that would maybe be a better option down there? So I guess I would open the floor. Of course, if there's anything that I'm missing that you guys would like to share, definitely feel like you can step in.
How does our moorage compare to, say, Charleston?
We are actually pretty low. And so we do end up getting folks who maybe wouldn't be able to be at some other sites. We're actually asking if we were able to meet the Charleston Marina's rates and actually increase a little bit beyond that when we consider what it would take to replace some of the, I don't know how often any of you have walked the docks. Just walked the one Saturday and pretty surprised about some of the way that the dock is actually, specifically by that one boat that's challenging, boards that need some replacement there. And there's just not a mechanism for that. We use, when we can, urban renewal down there, but that's, few and far between. So.
Another thing, the Port of Coos Bay does not allow anyone to live on the boats in Charleston. We do. I think that's something that we need to think about. I'm not saying that, the ones that are there already, we should do anything about, but I think the ones that have vacated or are empty now, I'm not sure that we should lease them out for mortgage for people to live on. I think that we need to think about that. It's a problem that's been created and for the staff, and whether it's police and fire and the ships and boats. And so anyway, I don't want to put a burden on the ones that are living there, but I think that we have some empty. How many do we have now that are open? 3 or 4?
As far as liveaboards, do we have a count of that? I don't know if we have a total count.
I think this morning, I think we counted 8.
8 open ones. Yeah, so I'm not sure how the rest of the council feels. So I think that we need to evaluate this and maybe get some background from staff. Like I said, Port of Coos Bay doesn't do it. I think there's an opportunity that other commercial.
Is that something that was recent? I mean, it's been a long time since I worked out in Charleston.
So,
I don't know.
Yes, I would give you a disclaimer. They don't allow it. But much like us, there are things we don't allow, and they don't have policing on a regular basis. I did get the opportunity to speak to their security person who responded. I just want to give a shout out to the port, because we had been monitoring this boat because we did see that it was taking on some water. It's a pretty big boat. I'm not a boat person, so I'm going to sound really silly in all of this, but we were monitoring it to see how much and when we should get concerned. We maybe just didn't communicate that well to the Coast Guard and to the port. And so the Coast Guard noticed the change in the boat where it was sitting in the water and contacted the port to ask them to get in there and do something about that. They jumped in and had someone respond to get a pump on board to start helping with that. In the meantime, contacted us, and we did phone tree through everybody to get our staff on site. And we were watching it. We were going to be prepared if we felt like it had made a big difference. The other 2 organizations maybe were not, so they didn't know that it went so far and then it kind of stopped. But I guess I would say first off to just acknowledge that the port did step in with willingness to help. right off. So that's a new kind of thing I think we're experiencing. But from that, I learned from the gentleman who was there, because when I received the call, I went down just to kind of get my eyes on what was happening. They have shift overnight that goes and checks all of the boats that's there between 1 and 3. And if they're liveaboard at that point, and they try to address it, but oftentimes the things that we don't want to happen in the nighttime hours. So people are coming and going and they're not able to address it when the folks who would be doing the administrative side of that would be in. So they don't allow it, but it does happen.
So when this dock was originally built, the intent was to have boats there that would be an attraction for the city and people driving by, which it was and has. The mortgage rates were, I don't even know if we charged anything at one point, and it was minimal if whatever we did do. And so over the years, we've adjusted it. But at this point in time, I think, and I'm just, like I said, maybe just throwing this out there, instead of having more housing or where people live there, I think we could look at commercial facilities that could be the same attraction and bring a different vibe to the area, whatever that may be, retail, some kind of commercial activities, and like we have down there now. So anyway, it's just my thought. I'm not sure how everyone else feels, but I think it's something that we need to think about. We have 8 spots open. And we want staff to proceed. We want to go ahead and allow these to be
Yeah, living there.
only 8 people living there. How many spots are open?
The marina, I think, is full except for the transit slips. But I think we believe there's 8 folks living down there, making the residents down there.
Okay.
The rest of the slips are full.
Okay. Oh, they are.
Yes.
Except that we have 3 now, right? That
The transient slip is open. So.
well, didn't we have some people pass away that had facilities?
That doesn't mean that they're empty.
Can you have their boat there?
Gotcha. Okay.
Think it's, Greg, can you explain transient just so people don't think it's a word associated?
So we have 3 levels of I guess 4 levels of stay down at the docks. We have a short term, we have mid, transient slips. We have short term, we have long term, and so I guess it's only 3. I apologize, but we have a transient slip, which is our outside on the bay side side of the docks, and then we have the interior slips, or we do have the south dock, which is not transient, but we keep that open for larger ships or larger boats. So the transient slip is on the north dock, and we have that is open up. We do have 1 vessel tied up there, but the rest of the slips, I believe, are all full at this point. They're occupied by vessels. Now, I think one of the big issues that we have is that boats typically are passed along. Once somebody passes away, they typically go to maybe a family member, and then the family member might not know what to do with that boat, or hey, I've inherited a boat, but I just don't know what to do with it. Our municipal code is such that their mortgage agreement doesn't automatically transfer over to the new owner, but we still have a boat there that somebody doesn't know what to do with. And so that's one of the challenges that we have, is sometimes we have boats down there that we might not have a mortgage agreement with, but we also just can't kick a boat, cut it loose and let it float upriver. We can't call a towboat or a tow company to come haul it off. And so we do have some of those vessels down there, much like the Commando that is down there now that we responded to this weekend. And the vessel was owned by a person. The person passed away. It's kind of in a limbo land. It's the estate doesn't want it. As far as I know, the people that were caretaking for it are now deceased, and so we have these vessels that are down there. We just had one a couple months ago where the person passed away again. Went to the next of kin, and the family member didn't want the boat, and so we have these issues down there. And so we do have a lot of boats down there that are occupying the spaces, and some of them most of them we do have good mortgage agreements for, and some of them are owned by people that are still continuing to pay the mortgage for maybe perhaps a deceased loved one they're just paying the mortgage agreement. So, yeah.
But this that's being brought before us tonight doesn't necessarily help that problem.
We're working on that piece, which would be a modification of the agreement. Our agreement right now is pretty cut and dry, and it doesn't really ask for some elements that would help us trace out ownership. We also have historically not required proof of insurance. They could just say we have insurance. So there's a lot of things we're seeing we want to tie down a little bit along with the rates, so we can get some better usage of that space.
Okay, so is there an interest in the council to leave it the way it is or have staff look at it and come back with a recommendation on people living there or not?
Is that outside of what we're working on? Are we
Yes.
just working on
Is
fees?
this just the fees?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm interested in talking about it.
Okay.
I have some ideas as well, but
Okay.
I actually think that houseboats are,
Well,
an option
sure.
and more housing. 'Cause if you're not gonna build on land, since we have really steep terrain here, maybe building on water is not a bad idea. That being said, I like the idea of going 10% over the Charleston cost.
Okay. All right, so let's just go with E first. I got off track. Discussion of the fee schedule adjustments and annual indexing method. So comments on that, or I need a motion?
Can I ask, because it looks like this is also to reduce some library fees?
Yes.
Yeah, so, we started to put together a resolution and present what we thought, but then it got a little clunky. And so what we thought was coming here first and getting an idea of where you're comfortable with us moving forward. We can bring you, and I don't think we ended up with a resolution. I could be wrong. Let me look. We can bring you, we didn't bring a resolution. We can bring you a resolution with the things that we think are pretty rock solid, the library changes. Now we know you have an interest in looking at the mortgage rate being adjusted. Those can come to you as we kind of work through some of these other elements. But again, up to you on how you might want to approach this. We can also put some indexing in there if that's what you'd like to do, and that's what we use to, modify those fees each year.
I think in terms of the library services fees, I trust Sammy's kind of evaluation on that. The mortgage fees, I think those need to be raised personally. And then as a general fee adjustment, I'm open to talking about that, but I'd also kind of like to look at fees in general. Where we're starting from, where our point is. As somebody who deals with city fees quite often, I see, sometimes I'm like, wow, that's really, really cheap for what I believe y'all have to do. And sometimes it feels a little bit more. So I wouldn't mind just kind of going over the fees if that would be something that everybody else would be interested in. I know it's not super fun, but it's necessary.
I just don't want to get into a situation where we're doing a blanket, go ahead and do 10% when you feel like it or every year. I don't want to get into a situation where the public who has elected us feels like we're not doing our job in that. So I just want to be real cautious. We've seen the result of that in a neighboring city. So I want us to be aware of that when we do that. I think we definitely have some fees in here that need to be looked at, and I would be interested in coming back and talking more about the mortgage.
Maybe a work session,
But
fee-based.
you're not
work
interested in
session.
doing the mortgage increases? Oh, you mean the mortgage as far as? Yes, gotcha. Okay.
I'm curious to know if there's been previous discussions with previous councils on tying things to the consumer price index, or if this is the first time that's been broached.
That's really the first time. Now, the MCI has always been a part of the fee schedule in relation to mortgage. That's the only piece that had any indexing in there. But this is really the first time that we've even talked internally. Like, we have this huge document that kind of guides the work, and we don't spend a lot of time in it annually, especially when we look at the budget. We do the budget and we know some costs of what it takes to provide that service. And we actually had some of these conversations with Enterprise, the team that we're working with the HUD distressed community. Could they help us look at our fees, help us maybe determine what kind of mechanism we might use, if we have some overhead rate, Could we apply that, and it sits in a spreadsheet that we can then show you what's before and after, and here's, and this ties to the budget, some sort of tool that would make it not so cumbersome to modify this 15-page fee schedule. So.
Am I correct in like some of the general service fees that are kind of outside of our control? We do talk about CPI, MCI when it's related to like trash service or
We do.
it comes up with the water board. I believe
Service
wastewater would
contracts.
probably have some kind. Do you guys have a consumer price index fee rate schedule? You do not. Okay, but it goes up every year. Yes, and we just kind of throw a dart.
We work with Steve Donovan, our financial consultant. He knows what our forecasting is with respect to our loans, our future capital projects, our customers. So he forecasts that.
So it's a kind of
It's
a
complicated.
custom tailored rate
City
adjustment,
specific, yeah.
annual rate in adjustment. Okay.
And that's what we were kind of talking with the enterprise about. Like, how can you help us determine, for example, a mortgage? What do we do in-house? That cost associated with that? What is the cost of operating the facility? What is our plan to replace elements of that? Because that should be a factor of what it takes for someone to be there. That's what happens
That's-
at that level.
Yeah, we got goals and needs and understanding of all
Right.
those things, and we don't necessarily have
And
that
we
right now
don't.
for all of these other fee schedules. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with Counselor Kilmer. It's maybe not the best approach to just be like, we're just going to rate it up 10% every year or whatever it might be. But maybe having an understanding of where we're going would be able to help us, forecast some of these financial goals and fee structures. So a work session makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay. If everyone's satisfied, we'll.
So we will come back probably mid-month with the resolution to modify the things you've identified that you'd like to have changed, just so we can get that kind of, moving. And then we'll schedule a work session to kind of be able to pick apart the fee schedule a little bit more, identify the things that we can address and talk about, pulling out maybe the building permits and things like that we're not going to be able to look at this round.
But you're also going to try to find some kind of tool or something that can be figured into, figure our
We
costs.
can certainly give you, for example, what we've been doing with MCI, and now that is tied more to like construction and asset development kind of cost. That indexing is for that, where CPI kind of is a goods and service indexing. We use CPI in a lot of other pieces. For example, they're part of our collective bargaining agreements. CPI drives that. And so there's relevancy, and it's something that's known across the board. It's an inflationary number. So if we were going to apply something that is a known indexing that has some trust behind it, picking the right market and region, and that there's many CPI indexes that you can use. So we're making sure we're using the right one for our area. But so that is a trusted mechanism. It still could mean we come back and you still approve that, much like we do, like you said, for franchise agreements where they come before you for approval, rather than just a sweep. We're going to do a CPI adjustment. So
That's what I was looking for.
All right. Anyone else? Hearing no other comment, we'll move on to consideration for approval of the library services contract. Sammy?
Yes, thank you. This is the yearly contract we have with the county who administer the taxing district. And it's just the distribution of funds and the agreement for that. Does anybody have any questions about it? We do also, City of Coos Bay does also act as the fiscal agent for the Extended Services Office. That's why it's also included in here in the staff report.
Gotcha.
Any comments or questions?
I move we approve and authorize the city manager to sign the library services contract.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the library services contract that is proposed. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Nicole, city manager.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sammy.
Okay, just hopefully a couple things here really quick. I first wanted to acknowledge, in our second day of employment, our new building administrator is here, Marcy Goodrich. She started on, Monday. She's, taking the position that previously Amy Linder was in before moving over to the fire department as our fire inspector. So we welcome her. She comes from, the other side of the counter perspective, which is really going to be helpful as we're really trying to figure out how we can be more of a community service minded organization, trying to remove barriers so that we are kind of easier to work with. So we're happy she's here. Understand we've got a lot of work to do, and she seems to be raring to go.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will. Why don't you come on up and introduce yourself and tell us, give a little bit of your background. I'm familiar with some of it.
Okay.
But I'm not sure the rest of the council is, so.
Well, I've had about 35 years of construction experience, mostly in heavy civil underground, few years in buildings. So as contractor, estimator, project manager, field superintendent type, and have come in here many times for several years and seen a lot of staff changes, a lot of protocol changes, and not all of them for the better. So as things just have developed in my life in the course, there was an opportunity for me. At the same time, there's an opportunity here. I applied and was accepted. So I'm really actually very eager, excited. It is absolutely the other side of the counter, but I do hope that I can bring some unity and hopefully smooth some things out and speed up the process as well. So
Well, I'm definitely pleased to see you here in this position.
Thank you.
As you stated, I have talked to you on the other side of the counter in other instances, so I've worked with you on that, and so it's good to have you here.
yeah, thank you. It's been a great warm welcome so far.
All right.
Great.
Hopefully it'll keep continuing. You'll enjoy it.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Okay, then just kind of quick, we got a couple of things coming up just to tell you about. We're probably gonna miss the National Night Out, which is happening right now in both Eastside and Empire. We maybe talk about it next year. It seems always it's on this Tuesday and we always
what's
miss
the
it.
deal?
So we might think about that maybe next year.
Exactly.
OBAB is doing back in Coos Bay on Saturday to do their cleanup. They'll be in Toppets again. Starts at 12. I think you can show up a little bit before that and get your tasks that you might help with. And then also on Saturday is movie in the parking lot. We're hosting another movie there. We did a couple last year in partnership with Coos Watershed, but this year we're just taking it on our own and gonna host it ourselves. So, and I don't know if this is the only movie, or are we doing two again?
We're going to be doing two events. I'll bring in a flyer at the next meeting. And I may have misled you, but Kuzwa is helping us, but we are sponsoring it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so that's what I was gonna share.
All right. Council comments, Troy.
Had to find the mute button. I have no comments this evening.
All right. Thank you. Carmen.
I just wanted to give a couple of kudos, one to the Oregon Coast Music Association for another successful music festival. I think it brought a lot of excitement and musical experiences to this community, and I'm always looking forward to it and be looking forward to it again next year. Also, I participated, or at least my daughter did, in the Big Kahuna swim tournament this weekend. And I just want to give a big shout out to the city staff and everybody at the pool who really kind of bend over backwards to make that event what it is. There's camping that happens in Mingus Park, which is totally not something that we normally do, but it's really a unique event. And we have such an amazing asset with the Mingus Park pool being an open air pool with a big amphitheater-like hillside on the side so everybody can watch. It's just, and I've been to several swim events and this one's the best, and everybody wants to come to this one because the pool is so cool here and it's in the park. So just wanted to say congratulations to everybody who pulled that off, and thanks to the city staff who helped make that a possibility. And then I'm still working on those. I know that Mike and Dean left, but bicycle infrastructure is not off my focus point. It's not off my bingo card. It's a constant moving target, and I understand the frustrations, but I talk to people every day who want to see more bicycle infrastructure. And it's like a constant conversation that's happening in the background. It's not in the background, it's at the forefront of my mind all the time. And I really hope that we can, as a council, make some real steps, not just the 3 blocks in 3 years, as Dean coined it.
Dean keeps talking
Yeah,
about.
but yeah, we haven't had a lot of wins in that space, but we are working on it. And I think that there's a lot of ground to be laid before we actually put paint on the road. So we'll make it happen. Man, that's all I have.
Thanks, Carmen. Stephanie?
I appreciate that, Carmen, because I actually put bikes on my list of things to talk about today, but probably not for the same reason. But I appreciate that you want to have a plan, because I think if you put up, someone wanting 3 blocks every 3 months or even every year versus fixing the roads, and we are seeing some deterioration that we have not had. I mean, I'm sure they're doing that assessment. There's a lot of people that want those roads fixed that drive on them that don't or can't ride a bike. I think it's nice. But I think having a plan is important to figure out how to do that. And money is always an issue. And I would have said that to the gentleman if they were there. If I won the lottery, man, we would have all kinds of things here, but unfortunately the budgets are tight. And so we have to prioritize, and it doesn't always work out well. Can we figure out a way? I think we can, but it takes time. Also wanted to remind folks that Blackberry Arts Festival is coming up. I can't believe it's August already. August 23rd and 24th in downtown Coos Bay. That's a juried arts festival. And they have a waiting list. So lots of vendors this year. And then right after that is Bay Area Fun Festival in September. So things are happening. And with regards to the OBAB cleanup in Toppets Park, I do a lot of monitoring of social media. And I couldn't believe it today, the discussion, someone made a very positive comment about the work that's been done in Toppets Park. And someone else came in and said, it's terrible and all these terrible things are happening and it's not the place to go. Kind of expected that. And there was a flood of people that came in and said, oh no, there's been a huge difference in that park. So the work that our staff are doing, the volunteers are doing is making a difference. When you make it a place where people want to come, it kind of takes away some of those things that we don't want to be happening in those areas. So kudos to everybody that's been working on that, and I appreciate it. Just a question, we had been working with Jason Graham on that property out there. I see it's still vacant. Do we know what is happening, or can we check and see what's happening? Because I noticed there's a Graham Bobcat dealership coming into North Bend.
Yeah, I can certainly ask him. I'm not aware of an update from him. I don't know.
And part of that property, getting that back was to have some development there. So I was just curious what was happening. It's been a long time. So.
Chelsea?
I think I know as much as you do that they have chosen to go to North Bend and have a site there, what we lovingly call the Pink Building. And I have not heard that they intend to move forward on a project over by the Jeep dealer. So it's kind of a hold.
Yeah, Carmen brought it up to me, called and asked if I knew anything about it. And what I remember is that this entity, this business promised to move forward and we sold them with a premonition. They didn't. But also to put a business there, they also had to meet certain criteria, not just put bobcats on a dirt pat or dirt lot. And that's what they were doing. So there was criteria to meet for them to continue with that business. We were trying to get them, work with them. They weren't willing to work with us. And then they said the city of Coos Bay is not easy to deal with, but even those are the terms that we were dealing with. So it's unfortunate that they left. It's unfortunate they didn't move forward. And it's unfortunate that we don't have an opportunity to get that back like we wanted to if they didn't develop it, but that didn't happen. So anyway. Sarah.
That was my question, actually. So no comments. Thanks.
Jacob.
Okay, just a couple things. The library's wrapping up its summer reading, and they're gonna have a party to wrap it up at Mingus Pool on the 16th at 4. I got the chance to go to Water Treatment Plant 1 recently, so that was pretty cool. So shout out to the folks who work on that, and it is amazing all the technology that is in that place. It's crazy. I also got to go to the food truck off, which I'm very curious to know who was the winner. Do we know?
They had several different categories.
Stephanie was a judge.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to say that? Oh, I'm sorry. She wasn't a judge.
I was a judge. I have never eaten that much. I haven't eaten that much food in the last 5 years. It was very good. Honestly, I'm very picky, and my husband knows that my food has to be hot. Otherwise, I don't eat it. And so food trucks sometimes have difficulty putting out that hot food. But it was good, and it was hot, and the weather was great, and phenomenal job by the Mill Casino or Cokewell Casino Resort and the food trucks that were there. And a lot of them are in this community. So I might be doing some more food truck stuff too.
Nice. Well, I just had one more thing. We had a turnover in superintendents at our school district. The new superintendent is Gary Roberts, former principal of Millicoma School, has stepped in to fill in an interim role. And my hope is he can come give us an update and share how we're progressing.
You know, along those same lines, we had talked about with the previous superintendent about having a joint meeting and getting together. I would still like for us to try to follow through with that if possible. So anyway, that'd be great. Just along the bike path, you know, I mean, I don't know what the plan is, and we need to try to figure this out, but don't we have bike path funds that also? I know it's minimal, but we do have them, right?
We do have, I think it's 2% of the state gas tax gets.
So
put
don't
in
we,
it.
what do we have in the fund? 150?
One is, yeah,
Something like
if that.
Okay, so it can at least help us with the plan and maybe some things that we can kind of get an idea where to move forward with. And anyway, I know that we keep trying to address this and we have difficulty to accomplishing it, but I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on also. So anyway, so a couple things that I'd like to bring up. Councilor Kilmer had brought up an issue. Don't generate a lot of, I think they could potentially take up some commercial spots that we're trying to develop and also some housing. So I don't want that to impact that. We're moving forward in some, well, perfect example is in Empire. You know, we have these buildings that are coming up for development that we're trying to encourage people to, and it would put a damper on what we had talked about. We went through a blueprint plan in Empire. None of that was addressed. So I think that we need to try to maintain that plan. And so this is one way that we can make sure that we can move forward with it. So if the council is interested, I would like to have the staff come back with that recommendation about putting a moratorium together, getting with Nate and figuring out what needs to be done to do that. If that's
an excellent idea.
okay.
I do too.
All right. The other thing that I want to bring up, and we used to do this, business licenses used to come before us and we used to approve them and we don't anymore. And my point being is I'm not sure how much flexibility we have on approving and we're not approving them. Again, Nate would know how we do that, but
This is for part of it.
approving business licenses. We used to do that in the day. And now I can't go back and say when, probably before 2016, but they used to come before us and it would be more just to ratify it. And I think that's something, okay, it's twofold. Number one, I'd like to know what's going where. Right now, I drive around town. I get people asking me, what's going down here? I have no idea. I don't know what's going where. I mean, and I